Hey Falcon friends, Mr. F here. Wanted to say hi. Hope you guys are all doing well and doing your best to keep those hands washed and social distancing yourselves. I know it's not the greatest when you have to stay away from loved ones and friends, but if you're doing your part, this will all be over and we'll get back to normalcy sooner than we think, I guess. Again, miss you guys a ton. Hoping to see you guys soon. Today I'm going to read a couple chapters from Holes. Last we left off on chapter 7, Stanley had just completed his very first hole. So he's a little over it, and obviously he wishes he didn't have to do it anymore, but it's his life now, so he's got to continue doing this. All right, so again, we're starting chapter 8 today. I'll read a couple chapters, and hope you enjoy. A lot of people don't believe in curses, and a lot of people don't believe in yellow-spotted lizards either. But if one bites you, it doesn't make a difference whether you believe in it or not. You're gone. Actually, it is kind of odd that scientists name the lizard after its yellow spots. Each lizard has exactly 11 yellow spots, but the spots are hard to see on its yellow-green body. The lizard is from 6 to 10 inches long and has big red eyes, and in truth, its eyes are actually yellow, and its skin around the eyes, what is red. But everyone always speaks of its red eyes. It also has black teeth and a milky white tongue. Looking at one, you would have thought it should have been named a red-eyed lizard, or a black-toothed lizard, or perhaps even a white-tongued lizard. If you've ever been close enough to see the yellow spots, you're probably dead. The yellow-spotted lizards like to live in holes, which offer shade from the sun and protection from predatory birds. Up to 20 lizards may live in one hole. They have strong, powerful legs and can leap out of very deep holes to attack their prey. They eat small animals, insects, certain cactus thorns, and shells of sunflower seeds. Stanley stood in the shower and let the cold water pour over his hot and sore body. It was 4 minutes of heaven. For the second day in a row, he didn't use any soap. He was too tired. There was no roof over the shower building, and the walls were raised about 6 inches off the ground, except in the corners. There was no drain in the floor. The water ran out under the walls and evaporated quickly in that hot sun. He put on his clean set of orange clothes. He returned to his tent and he put his dirty clothes in his crate. He got out his pen and box of stationery and he headed for the rec room. A sign on the door said rec room, but spelt W-R-E-C-K. Nearly everything in the room was broken. The TV, the pinball machine, the furniture, even the people in there looked broken, with their worn-out bodies sprawled over the various chairs and sofas. X-Ray and Armpit were playing pool, and the surface of the table reminded Stanley of the surface of a lake. It was full of bumps and holes because too many people had carved their initials into the felt. As Stanley made his way across the room, he tripped over an outstretched leg. "Hey, watch it!" said an orange lump on the chair. "You watch it," Stanley muttered, too tired to care. "What'd you say?" the lump demanded. Nothing. The lump rose. He was almost as big as Stanley, and a lot tougher. "You said something to me?" And he poked his fat finger at Stanley's neck. "What'd you say?" A crowd quickly formed around them. "Be cool," said X-Ray, and he put his hand on Stanley's shoulder. "You don't want to mess with the caveman," he warned. "The caveman's cool," said Armpit. "I'm not looking for trouble," Stanley said. "I'm just tired, that's all." The lump grunted. X-Ray and Armpit led Stanley over to a couch. Squid slid over to make room as Stanley sat down. "Did you see the caveman back there?" X-Ray asked. "The caveman's one tough dude," said Squid, and he lightly punched Stanley's arm. Stanley leaned back against the very torn vinyl upholstery of the couch. Despite his shower, his body still radiated heat. Guys, you have to believe me, I wasn't trying to start anything over there. The last thing you wanted to do after killing himself all day on the lake was to get in a fight with a boy called Caveman. He was glad X-Ray and Armpit had come to his rescue. "Well, how'd you like your first hole?" asked Squid. Stanley just groaned, and the other boys laughed. "Well, the first hole's the hardest," said Stanley. "Oh, no way," said X-Ray. "The second hole's a lot harder. You're hurting before we even get it started. If you think you're sore now, just wait and see how you feel tomorrow after your next hole." "That's right," said Squid. "Plus, the fun's gone." Sorry, excuse me, did someone say the fun?" "Don't lie to me," said X-Ray. "I bet you always wanted to dig a big hole, right? Am I right?" Stanley had never really thought about that before, but he knew better than to tell X-Ray he wasn't right. Every kid in the world wants to dig a great big hole. You know, right to China, right? "Oh, right," said X-Ray. "See what I mean?" said X-Ray. "That's what I'm saying. But now that the fun's gone, and you still got to do it again, and again. Can't fun and games," said Stanley. "Hey, what's in the box?" asked Squid. Stanley had forgotten that he had brought it. "Oh, it's just paper, guys. I was going to write a home to my mom." "Your mother?" laughed Squid. "She'll worry if I don't." Squid just scowled. Stanley looked around the room. This was the one place in the camp where the boys could enjoy themselves. And what'd they do? They wrecked it. The glass on the TV was smashed as if someone had put his foot through it. Every table and chair seemed to be missing at least one leg. Everything leaned. He waited to write the letter until after Squid had gotten up and joined the game of pool. "Dear Mom, today was my first day at camp, and I've already made some friends. We've been out on the lake all day, so I'm pretty tired. Once I pass the swimming test, I'll get to learn how to water ski. And he stopped writing as soon as he became aware that somebody else was reading over his shoulder. He turned around to see Zero standing right behind the couch. "I don't want her to worry about me," he explained. And Zero just said nothing. He just stared at the letter with a serious, almost angry look on his face. Stanley slipped it back into the stationery box. "Does the shoes have red X's on the back?" Zero asked them. It took Stanley a moment, then he realized that Zero was asking about Clyde Livingston's shoes. Yeah, they did. He wondered how Zero knew that. The brown X was a popular brand of sneakers. Maybe Clyde Livingston made a commercial for them or something. Zero stared at him for a moment with the same intensity with which he had been staring at the letter. Stanley poked his finger through the hole in the vinyl couch and pulled out some of the stuffing. He wasn't aware of what he was doing. "Come on, Caveman, dinner time." "You coming, Caveman?" said Squid. "Yeah, let's go," said Armpit. Stanley looked around to see that Armpit and Squid were talking to him. Sure," he said, and he put the piece of stationery back in the box. Then he got up and followed the boys out to the tables. The lump wasn't the caveman. He was. He shrugged his shoulder. It was better than being barf bag, I guess. Chapter 10. Stanley had no trouble falling asleep that night, but morning came much too quickly. Every muscle and joint in his body ached as he tried to get out of bed. He didn't think it was possible, but his body hurt more than it had the day before. It wasn't just his arms and back, but his legs, his ankles, his wrists also hurt. The only thing that got him out of bed was knowing that every second he wasted meant he was 1 second closer to the rising sun. And man, these days, did he hate that sun. He could hardly lift his spoon during breakfast. And then he was out in the lake and his spoon replaced by a shovel. He found a crack in the ground and began his second hole. He stepped on the top of the shovel blade and pushed on the very back of the shaft with the base of his thumb. This hurt less than trying to hold it against the shaft with his blistered fingers. And as he dug, he was careful to dump the dirt far away from the hole. He needed to save the area around the hole for when the hole got much deeper. He didn't know if he'd ever get that far. X-Ray was right. The second hole was the hardest. It would take a miracle. As long as the sun wasn't out yet, he removed his cap and used it to help protect his hands. Once the sun rose, he would have to put it back on his head. His neck and forehead had been badly burned from the day before. He took it one shovelful at a time and tried not to think of the awesome task that lay ahead of him. After an hour or so, his sore muscles seemed to loosen up just a little bit. He grunted as he tried to stick a shovel into the dirt. His cap slipped out from under his fingers and the shovel fell free. And he just let it lie there. He took a drink from his canteen and he guessed that the water truck should be coming soon, but he didn't finish all the water, just in case he was wrong. He learned to wait until he saw the truck before drinking his last drop. The sun wasn't up yet, but its rays arced over the horizon and brought light to the sky. He reached down to pick up his cap, and there, next to it, he saw a wide, flat rock. And as he put his cap on his head, he continued to look down at that rock. He picked it up. He thought he could see the shape of a fish, fossilized in it. He rubbed off some of the dirt, and the outline of the fish became clear. The sun peeked over the horizon, and he could actually see tiny little lines where every one of the fish's bones had been. He looked at the barren land all around him. True, everyone referred to this area as the lake, but it was still hard to believe that this dry wasteland was once full of water. Then he remembered that what Mr. Sir and Mr. Pedanski had said. If he had dug up anything interesting, he should report it to one of them. And if the warden liked it, he would get the rest of the day off. He looked back down at the fish. He'd found his miracle. He continued to dig, though very slowly, as he waited for the water truck. He didn't want to bring attention to his find, afraid that one of the other boys might try to take it from him. He tossed the rock face down beside his dirt pile, as if it had no special value. A short while later, he saw the cloud of dirt heading across the lake. The truck stopped and the boys lined up. They always lined up in the same order. Stanley realized no matter who got there first, X-Ray was always at the front of the line. Then came Armpit, Squid, Zigzag, Magnet, and then Zero. Stanley got in line behind Zero. He was glad to be at the back so no one would notice the fossil. His pants had large pockets, but the rock still made a bulge. Mr. Pedanski filled each boy's canteen until Stanley was the only one left. I found something, Stanley said, taking it out of his pocket. Mr. Pedanski reached for Stanley's canteen, but Stanley handed him the rock instead. What's this? Oh, I think it's a fossil, said Stanley. Look, see the fish? Mr. Pedanski looked at it again. See, you can even see all of its little bones, said Stanley. Interesting, said Mr. Pedanski. Let me have your canteen. Stanley handed it to him. Mr. Pedanski filled it, then returned it. So, do I get the rest of the day off? What for? You know, you said if I found something interesting, the warden could give me the day off. Mr. Pedanski just stood there laughing as he gave the fossil back to Stanley. Sorry, Stanley. The warden isn't interested in fossils. Let me see that, said Magnet, taking the rock from Stanley. Stanley continued to stare at Mr. Pedanski. Hey, Zigzag, dig this rock, man. Cool, said Zigzag. Stanley saw his fossil being passed around. I don't see nothing, said X-Ray. He took his glasses off, wiped them on his dirty clothes, and put them back on. See? Look at the little fishy there, said Armpit. All right, guys, that was 3 chapters. Tomorrow I'll start chapter 11. I really hope you enjoyed it. I'm hoping to continue and finishing this book, obviously, within the next little bit. And I guess we'll see what happens then. But I hope you guys have a great rest of your Wednesday. Continue to be safe, and hope to see you soon. See ya.